You know, they expected a whole lot more out of these last 2 rounds. Now, obviously, she's 6 for 11, but you know, this is a quality filly that they just expected a whole lot more out of recently, and now they've got it back.
They indeed have. She is crossing the line. The trophy presentation before this opening Mazra Al Rawaya, sponsored by Arabian Adventures, now about to take place. And Eric Lamartinel, probably by his own high standards, will be a little bit disappointed at the season that he's had. Doesn't feature amongst the top 10 in the Trainers' Championship, which is a rarity for him. In fact, it's almost unheard of. So this important success on the big stage of Meydan will hopefully make up a little bit for the disappointments that have gone before. And Eric Lamartinel about to head up onto the stage to collect his trophy on behalf of the winning owner, Sheikha Elisa bin Sultan Al Nahyan. And this 6-year-old mare was scoring for the 6th time in those 11 starts, placed on 3 further occasions, and really and truly her last defeat at the hands of Barak was her only disappointment throughout her career, and the only time she's really been well and truly beaten. So obviously mitigating circumstances for that, and Tiger Shea collects his trophy. And it looks sewn home and dry, doesn't he, Tiger Shea, in terms of the Jockeys Championship for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's not, you know, I don't think he's going to take it for granted at this point. He's too competitive for that. But I think he's enjoying at least having a little bit of a cushion at this point.
I think he can almost sit out the rest of the season and still win, but he will not be doing that. Eric Lamartinel was the successful winning trainer, and he's now talking to Laura.
Yeah, indeed he is. Really well done, Eric. You've nursed her back. You've got her back. That was a great effort.
Yeah, today she showed what she can do, like she won the Mattoon Challenge last year, yeah.
And the change of tactics, just she didn't have to lead today. I think that must have helped.
Yeah, to FTAG we agree together to have a start, but not pushing her absolutely to go in front and let her travel good after the race, and after you see how it's going.
And you never lost faith in her, did you? All year you've been saying she's just as good, and today she's proved it.
Yeah, last time I don't know, she never stopped changing the legs, everything, so she was not her 100%, she was 50, even not 50% that she is. So we try to do some job on her, and today it was.
And you won this race, I think, with Misner a few years ago. Do you think RB Money to Burn might come back for the Carrera Classic?
I crossed the figure, it happened the same, but this is the plan now. We keep her fresh. With the springtime, she will be getting a better shape with the skin, everything. So objective is the Carrera now.
Oh, great news. Really well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done to Eric Lamartinel, and as Laura alluded to, it's been a very emotional week for everyone involved in the UAE racing scene. Fortunately, Pat Buckley passed away this time last week, and Laura now pays tribute.
Last week we said goodbye to Pat Buckley, who passed away at the age of 77. A man who had a huge impact on racing in the region, Pat was instrumental in setting up the sport in Oman, before doing the same in the UAE, moving to the capital in 1990. Known most recently for his role as manager of Abu Dhabi Racecourse, that completed a CV which also included stints as a steward and a trainer. However, Pat's main claim to fame is still winning the Grand National back in 1963 on Ayala, an astonishing achievement at the age of just 19.
There was a little race at Liverpool there in 1963, which won the Grand National. I would think that was the highlight and sort of one of the main lights, I would say, on reflection. I mean, I don't want to be conceited, but it did make me fairly well known to a lot of people, a lot of trainers, you know.
Loved and respected by all who knew him, Pat's passing has left a hole in the UAE's tight-knit racing community, with plenty of people wanting to pay tribute.
And he was a very good friend of mine, and he did everything for the race in UAE, so he just deserved the respect.
He was the main man in the Abu Dhabi racing, and the horseman, the joyful fellow. He's always had a word for everybody. He was the spirit of this place.
Pat for me is a legend. Pat was a teacher for me and a mentor. Pat contributed in everything we have done since we started the festival. We are gonna miss him.
Well, we're so sad, you know. It's quite weird even being here tonight, you know, because even though he wasn't able to come racing in the last year, you know, you'd always get a text from him after racing, and you can kind of feel his presence tonight, you know. Always had that mischievous little grin, you know, always wish you the best, and he's a great horseman, you know. He loved racing, loved it. Whether it was Cheltenham, Meydan, Sharjah, he was always glued to the telly, always knew the results, knew the form. So, yeah, he's going to be very, very sadly missed.
God bless you.
We'll miss you, Pat. Yeah, the much missed Pat Buckley. Eric Martinelli just won our first race, a very good friend of Pat's, so a fitting winner, I think, to get the night underway. We'll shortly be on to our second contest, though, which is the first of the thoroughbred events, and we're over 1.5 miles for this, 2,410 metres, and there are 8 Godolphin representatives in our Emirates Sky Cargo handicap. Doesn't make it any easier to work out which one's going to win, though. High end's a big price on the international markets, I thought. Away he goes for Ismail Mohammed, ran a great race last time. Aldebaran for Charlie Appleby, who also has Star Safari, who perhaps looks the most likely winner based on his good efforts last time out. We have Golden Wood, twice a winner over this course and distance. Learn by Heart has his first start of the carnival for Ben Olsen. Passion and Glory, Record Man, Sakara King, Zaman, Mudarab returning off something of around about a year off the track for Owen Sharpie. Brilliant Light, Global Storm, Mount of Richie Mullen for Charlie Appleby. And we have Piece of History, Cape Cavalli and Dublin Pharaoh.
Yeah, the weekly handicap then that looks very much at the benefit of Godolphin, who could easily saddle the first 4 or 5 home. Is that the way you see it, Mikey, or is there 1 or 2 in there that could upset the boys in blue today?
I think I believe, and also the market does believe as well, the way he goes is very live in the race.
Yep.
And, in arguably tougher company last time, he ran very well to be third and almost second. So, he's right up in there. And, you can't even count out a horse like Aldebaran, who has back class in Group 2 and Group 3 races for Godolphin, is one of the under Godolphin horses. So, there's, you want to see Godolphin do well, obviously, but it's always nice when a horse comes in and knocks them off.
Well, there are 2 key form lines, aren't there? The Walton Street and Yahayati. I think you've already alluded to your belief that the Walton Street one is that bit stronger. That's certainly the way I saw it. That was a truly run race as well, wasn't it? It was. He broke the track record.
The course was very quick that day, but still, breaking Hawkbill's record is impressive. And he also is that race... if you look at the closing splits, I know there were 10 furlong race and a 12 furlong race, but closing 400 meters, away he goes, closed faster than any horse in this field closed in that 10 furlong, the other race. So, and if you're going on fitness, you never know who's going to be fitter at this point. But if you're going on, if they are the same horse they were 3 weeks ago or close to it, it's going to be very difficult to outkick away he goes if he's within range.
Well, it's worth pointing out away he goes would have come late. Obviously, he ran. October, I think it was, in 2020. He was kind of 2 different yards within the Ismail Mohammed yard, so he was one of the later arrivals. Did he pretty much run off the plane, do you know? Was he?
He was only here a couple of weeks. I think he came along with is it Good Fighter? Is the sprinter they have that's going on to Saudi. Good Effort. Yeah. Who's going on to the Saudi sprint. And he adapted really quickly. I know that Antonio Fresu has been on him in the morning and was very impressed with him. The key with him just seems to be ground. His 2 worst efforts in his career were on heavy and soft ground. He gets his ground here. He just needs a little luck, because he was out for luck last time and had to wait until basically the 400 to get going.
He's by far, but I think far as a racehorse, raced predominantly on soft ground due to his frailties rather than him not handling firm ground. So, as you've said there, it's by no means a given that his progeny are going to handle the soft ground, and away he goes. Certainly looks as though he's a fast ground horse with an American pedigree on the dam side as well. So he's definitely a live player in this race, as we see the jockeys in the parade ring for this second contest.
And looking at his pedigree, the King Mambo on the bottom side says firm ground all day. So that at least he's going to pick up on it a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't run too poorly in heavy ground against the likes of Sotsas, but at Deauville, but still, he's 7 lengths behind them, and they were below their best fitness that day.
Yeah, I think the jockeys just emerged a bit before this race just to pay their own respects to Pat Buckley. You can see they're all sporting the black armbands and just taking a moment's silence to remember Pat. And they'll now be putting the helmets back on as the horses make their way into the parade ring. Plenty of different colours on show tonight. I'm sure Craig Evans will be quite relieved to get this one out of the way. Let's go through them then, starting with high end. I thought the most notable thing about this horse was that Frankie Dettori, who rode him last time, doesn't have a ride in the race. Presumably he's felt that it's not worth it on this one. He was a bit disappointing last time. He had every chance. May have been a little keen, but no other excuses. He probably has just as good a chance as his full brother Furness does later. He was off 3 years prior to his first start in 2020, so he's obviously a fragile sort, but made no real impression behind Hayati, having given the odd bit of trouble in the stalls. Maybe that's one of the reasons why Frankie has bypassed him here. Plenty of big races coming up in the next few weeks for Frankie. This is away he goes, so we've already spoken about quite a bit. He's probably going to need that pace again. I presume Antonio is going to drop him in from stall 10, you'd imagine. Yeah, and he by no means, as much as we're talking about him, he is by no means the favourite here. No. He's second. He's vying for second choice right now. I think he's third in the market, behind Star Safari and Brilliant Light. But, he just loves the trip. He just needs a little luck, and I think he's going to be bang there, as the Brits say. Yeah, he will be, as long as the back markers can get into it. Not always the case. This is Al Dabaran, who is the mount of Jim Crowley. 3 runs in 2020. A couple of them came over further, so he is dropping in trip. I had him down as a potential horse that could go forward in this. He's also been gelded since his last run. Yeah, I mean, you put a line through the last run. It didn't work out for him. He was going farther than he probably wants to. On ground that was sticky and gross, and he just didn't like it. He's a Dubawi, out of a Manduro. He's gonna have some stamina to him, and a little bit of probably pace up front. And he does have some back class. It's just whether or not you look at the Jim Crowley riding as a 4th string, or that he's riding it because of the weight. Yeah, I'd probably put him down as a 3rd string, because Mikhail Barcelona I'd have as maybe 2nd string. Yeah, Jim Crowley wouldn't have been able to do 54.5, so Charlie Appleby ensuring he's got the best available where he can. That was Star Safari, who I just thought was a bit rusty more than anything last time. Last time, yes. My only worry with him, I know he's a See the Stars, and they run all day, but he doesn't really present himself to me as a 12 furlong horse, and I'm probably going to eat those words tremendously because the market loves him, and everybody's riding his coattails right now. But I was not. I know that William kind of took care of him at the end of the race last time, but I expected a whole lot more out of him in that race. And even with the fitness issues, and to me it just screams of something that may or may not be quite right with the horse. In a race like this, where there are 2 or 3 that you can stack up against him, or 2 or 3 times his price, you can have him. Yeah, he certainly showed a good turn of foot to win over Shorter and break the track record last year, so plenty of speed. Charlie Appleby is here this evening, not made it out the last couple of weeks. We saw Golden Wood there, who's the older boy of the party, aged 11. He was midfield behind Walton Street in Truth. Never threatened to make any impression. This is Passion and Glory, who's trained by Saeed bin Surur, and he was also a well-beaten horse behind Yah Hayati. Hard to imagine him taking a huge leap up here. Yeah, I don't know that he's good enough. That's all. That's kind of just plainly what it is, and I don't know that 12 furlongs is going to be up his alley either. He's my Cape Cross, another one that's made the run-in, so there is 1 or 2 in the Godolphin Blue that could ensure that this is a decently run contest. There'll be 1 or 2 in the Godolphin Blue who probably need that, so it's in their best interest. Record Man was a winner from almost a year off when beating a Hesto Biro in a non-carnal event here 2 or 3 weeks ago. Needless to say, he's in deeper company here, up the £4. He is.
You know, on one hand, he's in a yard that's in quite good form right now these last couple of weeks from Zabeel, but you know, at the same time, he's stepping up in a big way. And you pointed out on the winning line of the time difference between the 10 furlong race and the Carnival, and his run was about 2 seconds. So that's about 10 lengths. He's got to make up. But he is a game little horse, and he should come on from that run. I do expect him to finish about mid-pack in this race. I wouldn't be surprised if he's better than that.
There won't be too many grey American Pharaohs around, I don't imagine. The tappet on the dam side will have impacted upon his colouring. He's only had 5 starts and missed the entirety of 2020. Not really bred to stay, and his form isn't all that special so far. So he didn't really have a great profile for me. What did you make?
I mean, I actually knew his mother really well. I got to spend a lot of time around Joyful Victory when she was running, and she was a Group 2, Group 1 horse, or Grade 2, Grade 1 horse in the U.S. Was a pure dirt horse. I don't know why this horse is on the grass, but since he's in Dubai now with dirt options, but maybe this is just a jumping off point, and this is a fit, you know, he can run all day and they're just going to get him fit. I don't know what they're doing with him in here, but good luck to them.
He looks the sort that does take a bit to get him fit. Quite a substantial horse. He's on his toes. There's Mudarab, who's been off the track a good while, was a handicap winner at Abu Dhabi last year for Irwin Sharpie, a consistent horse. Fitness would be the main issue with him, and of those that ran behind Yahayati, Brilliant Light, I thought it probably shaped just about best. Probably shaped a little bit better than Star Safari, if we're being brutally honest.
I mean, Brilliant Light he ran a huge race, I thought. If you rewatch it, right when the running started, he kind of got shuffled back on the inside and lost 3 or 4 lengths there at the most crucial part of the run. So, and then he came on running. I do not like that he did not change leads in the final furlong. Kind of lost a length or 2 at that point. And he was erratic. And that's kind of a habit of his I've seen. He doesn't really run a straight line.
Well, let's head into the parade ring where we can find out a bit more about Mudarab as Laura's talking to Irwin.
Indeed. Must be nice to have Mudarab back on track.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with him is typically only a turf horse, and even to work, we cannot work him on dirt because he get too unsound. So we have to wait for turf to open and for turf racing, and he's at a rating now where he's got very few opportunities. So no, I mean, I like him. You know, he's a genuine horse. He's always trying hard. But you know, he's got to start in February, which is a shame, you know.
So he'll probably need the run, would you say?
We tried to get him fairly straight, but I mean, there's no easy race on turf at Meydan. So I mean, we did what we could with him so far. So we hope that he's going to run a fairly good race, and then he's got a couple more races lined up, and that's it.
Okay, so things get a bit better for him. And I want to ask about your 2-year-old on Saturday, Yesterhel, a 3-year-old. Yesterhel lines up for you.
He's quite a tiny little horse, but he seems to be very speedy. I wish the dirt race was over 7, but this one was over 8. You know, we had him as an option onto the turf, but he's a dirt horse. He's quite speedy. He lacks of a little bit of size, but we'll see. I mean, that's his first run. He was lined up to run a few weeks ago, and he got sick, so we had to delay it. So, but we'll see. I mean, that's a competitive race, and we'll see what he does. You know,
it'll be interesting to see him. Best of luck with both of them.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good luck to Irwin Sharpie with Mudarab. See a couple of the ones we didn't talk too much about, Cape Cavalli and Dublin Pharaoh down the bottom. Do you see any of these lighter weights being good enough?
Cape Cavalli is the distance is a bit of a worry, and the class level. Dublin Pharaoh is some unanswered questions. I mean, he's very lately raced and came to hand last year pretty well in the fall. So I mean, he can move forward. I do want to see him on the dirt, though, being an American Pharaoh out of a Stormcat mare.
Be interesting to see what the intentions are from Dale Brennan. Whether this horse stays in the UAE with Doug Watson. He's probably likely raced enough to maybe go back to the UK and have a British campaign anyway, but we'll see how he goes at the Carnival first. They're all down at the start now. Maybe we can have a look at one or two of these galloping clues, and we've spoken quite a lot about the Yahayati form. Star Safari, who is quite a warm order for this race now. He was third on that occasion. Brilliant Light was fourth. We both kind of felt that Brilliant Light was the more eye-catching of the two in that race, Mikey, but maybe that Star Safari's going to strip a bit fitter for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Brilliant Light did look better in the run. As we said before, it looked like William was kind of wrapping up on Star Safari in that run. Brilliant Light was closed, I think, with the fastest final 400 in the race, and did it half the last furlong on the wrong lead. So he was very, very impressive. He just has to get the trip here today, and Pat has to work out something from all the way out in 14.
You'll be cheering on Brilliant Light, Laura, being a half-brother to Majestic Thunder?
Yeah, well, for that reason, I have followed him a little bit throughout his career, and obviously he's not so talented as Majestic Thunder. No, I'm only kidding. He's a nice horse, and I did put him as my tip for this, just because I think the step-up in trip might suit him. For all that Majestic Thunder doesn't stay, I don't think this trip. This fellow should do his by See the Stars. He was running on quite well last time, wasn't he? So it's a minefield. I'm sure that Something Blue wins, unless Ismail Mohammed can do it with away he goes. He looks the main obvious one to take on the boys in blue with. To me, I think Recordman's probably going to struggle up in grade here, but it's the sort of race that Godolphin typically do very well in.
Here is that Star Safari race then. He's in the red colours. He just had to switch a little bit. The green cap, red cap of Star Safari, green cap Brilliant Light. And you think here, Star Safari, if he's good enough, he goes on to win, Mikey, but he's not quite got that zip in the last furlong, has he?
Yeah, and he lost in a way, about a furlong before this clip starts. He lost valuable ground on the corner. So I feel like his run was a lot better than it seems here, and he really did close well. I don't know if he could have done much more at that point. I don't think he's a good enough horse to have done much more at that point.
It was a Brilliant Light, incidentally, ridden by Pat Cosgrove tonight. 53.5 kilos would be very much at the lower end of his weight, but he did do it last week on King Ragnar, and he didn't put up on the overweight. So if you have backed Brilliant Light, then chances are Pat Cosgrove has been able to pull off the weights. There is Record Man, who we can have a look at in action as well. This, as we've already alluded to, Laura, was a lesser event than the one he contests today, but he got to the front readily enough, entitled to get a bit tired, but now he's got a quick backup to contend with.
It's doubtful I'm going to say anything any more intelligent than Richie Mullen did on the winning line last night, when he just really highlighted what a big jump up in grade this is. You're taking on the good Godolphin horses here, and that was a nice gritty victory. He did only sort of scramble home, didn't he, from a Hester Barrow. So there's plenty of question marks. I mean, he's won over this trip at Abu Dhabi, and he's obviously a horse they've done very well with. He can't be the easiest to train. He's got quite a patchy record of just getting to the track. Only 11 starts for a 6-year-old. So not for me, I think.
No, not for me either. I'm with away he goes. What about you?
I am as well. Hopefully he gets a little luck this time.
We've gone against Godolphin. Are you sticking with them?
Star Safari is the obvious one. I'll go with Brilliant Light for the reasons I said. I think the step up in trip will suit him. And the thing with Star Safari, my only sort of question mark over him, is when he won last year, he won so well. I thought this horse was going to go back to Europe. He's going to run in group races. He didn't.
No.
Maybe they thought, we'll give him a year off. Why not? Maybe there was some sort of setback. So that just made me question him. But to say, if he runs that same race last time and gets the extra trip, he's very much the one to beat.
Yeah, he was very impressive last year, but absent since. There is one or two of these stepping up in trip. Interesting if it becomes a test. We'd imagine one of the boys in blue will go forward. Let's find out if they do in the hands of Craig Evans.
Yardie was a bit pale last time, but Star Safari in the bright pink, so thanks to Godolphin. Passion and Glory goes into position now, and Dublin Pharaoh comes along. So we're almost ready to go. So for a start, 2,410. Racing in the Emirates Sky Cargo. Learn by Heart was a little bit tardy out, and away he goes. Didn't really ping away. Sakara King showed plenty of speed towards the inside. A high end's going to go up with it. Dublin Pharaoh out wider, and Golden Wood and El Dabrin out very wide. Getting up on the inside is Cape Cavalli into a forward position just underneath the Golden Wood in the pink. Next of all is Passion and Glory, Record Man, and around the outside Brilliant Lights will settle a little closer here tonight. They were followed then by Piece of History as they go to the back. Star Safari outside of it. Then Glow Global Storm. A length and a half away then to Away He Goes, followed by Zaman, and Learn by Heart went back to the rear. They race into the back straight now towards the final 1,600 metres they go. Finding the front, Carrera King, first up for 18 months. Leads from El Dabron, who worked around the outside, got to second. Dublin Pharaoh third over on the inside, then came Brilliant Light. A length and a half to High End, the outside of Cape Cavalli, then Record Man. Between horses is Golden Wood, one off the fence, and outside of it Passion and Glory. Then Piece of History, the green cap improving down on the fence. Then came Mudarab going around the outside of Star Safari. Between horses, the inside Global Storm. Then Learn by Heart, Away He Goes, second to last now. And Zaman was back at the tail. No timing lead section available. It is the Roan Galloper, Carrera King, showing the way off the back straight over El Dabron. Over on the inside, Dublin Pharaoh. Next of all is Brilliant Light, nice and handy to them. Cape Cavalli down on the inside of High End. Then Record Man, followed by Goldenwood. Between horses travelling okay. The inside is Piece of History. Then came next of all Passion and Glory, followed by Star Safari. It'll need to get out of a pocket and get going. Shuffled back Global Storm in traffic over towards the inside. Then came next of all Mudarab. Away He Goes under a bit of pressure from Learn by Heart. And back at the tail is Zaman. They come to the top of the lane now. 500 metres to go. Carrera King doing a great job on the front, but pounced upon now by El Dabron. Brilliant Light up on the outside, challenging. A High End comes on strongly, and Record Man is right down the outside. Carrera King fights hard over on the inside of El Dabron. High End out in the middle of the track, followed by next of all Brilliant Light, Record Man. Here's Star Safari in the pink, and Away He Goes is getting a lease on life as well. Star Safari went to the front. Away He Goes coming hard on the outside. Brilliant Light near the fence for Star Safari. Big performance coming from well back. So too Away He Goes, who gets into second. Then Brilliant Light. Record Man ran a blinder, got into fourth ahead of some pretty smart horses. Behind them was Global Storm. High End just peaked on its run. Carrera King was very good at its return to racing. They were followed then by Passion and Glory. El Dabron, Learn by Heart, well back out of play then as they've gone across the line was Zaman, followed by Goldenwood, and amongst the tail enders is Piece of History, one of the last in Dublin Pharaoh and Cape Cavalli, and another one's pulled up very quickly, Mudarab. Good performance here from Star Safari. He was back between horses and in a bit of strife at about the 800 metres, and Away He Goes just lost his spot. So both these horses have been monstrous runs. Brilliant Light settled closer than last time, ran a really good race and found the line probably as good as anything in the last little bit. Looked done and dusted, Brilliant Light, but then picked up the bit late. And Record Man's run a terrific race, graduating from a non-carnival to carnival company and mixing it with some pretty good handicappers here tonight. And will probably just miss out on third. So Star Safari, and Away He Goes, coming from a good way off the speed here to find out the finish of the Emirates Sky Cargo.
Well, he did strip that bit fitter tonight, Star Safari. It was another well-run race where the runners from the back were able to land a blow. Indeed, the first, second, probably about the third have all made good late gains, but William Buick had Star Safari in the right place. And in the pink cap that was victorious aboard Yahiyati a couple of weeks ago, probably making it the winning most Godolphin-coloured cap of the carnival. William Buick's done it again in a classy sort, and the key thing is obviously if they can keep him sound, keep him going.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tale of two trips in this race. You know, he had a slightly better trip than Away He Goes and carried 2 kilos less on a classy horse that knows how to win. Really, really good ride by William, but we're going to say that more than once. Another
Solid performance from Away He Goes. I thought halfway up the straight, or maybe just after the round in the bend, I thought Antonio was actually still on the bridle. He might be a tricky enough horse that just needs producing with that one run, and it was almost good enough. Yeah, he needs a longer stretch, I guess. Yeah. But he needs to be. It looks like the horse needs to be shut down and put to sleep. And it was almost a carbon copy of his race last time. Yeah. I'm hoping that that he came out okay and can go on to bigger and better things. He seems like a horse that still has his best days ahead of him. Indeed, it was almost a carbon copy of that Hayati race, with the Pink Cat winning, with Star Safari, Away He Goes, and Brilliant Light all running on into the first three. Just Star Safari, as Richie again intimated last night, he just felt maybe Charlie's were just taking a run.
Yeah, which was a really good point. It's just a fourth winner of the carnival for William Buick. And have you noticed it's a different pink cap? The baby pink, very hard to distinguish, has been banished. And we've gone hot pink, which makes a lot of sense. It's difficult enough for poor Craig trying to call 8 different blue caps. So nice to see this horse win. And say he looked so exciting last year. I'll see if I can get a word with Charlie and see why it was he didn't travel or anywhere, or probably did travel back to Newmarket but didn't race over the summer. And maybe it's just a horse they felt needed plenty of time. They've been very patient with him so far. That's just 6 starts now, and he's just turned 5 years old. And now they've got more options, haven't they? They know that he gets that trip. He gets the extra 400 metres, which he did have to prove, I thought, beforehand. And as you say, the Hayati form looks pretty strong.
Yeah, it does. It's the picker. I thought the Walton Street run was. Well, I suppose it wasn't too far behind, only 3/4 of a length, that Walton Street form with Away He Goes. Charlie's not one for overcooking his horses in terms of where he places them. 1.5 miles. Would you think the Dubai City of Gold would be on the agenda, or is he's got probably have other better options for that, wouldn't he?
Well, he runs Walton Street in that, doesn't he? So he's going to be the first pick, you imagine. He'll go very close in that. That was such an impressive win. He said when he won that he'd go straight to that. So imagine that's still the plan. But no harm in running 2 or 3, is there?
No.
I'd say it'd still probably take Walton Street out of the 2 of them at this stage. But nice to have the options. And I agree with you. I think one of Charlie's great strengths as a trainer is he's brilliant at placing his horses. It's easier over here, of course. But when he does it internationally from his UK base, I think he's very, very good at it.
He certainly is. We'll try and pick out the correct Godolphin horses as we go through things. Up front we had Sakara King, who has been labelled as being a little bit one-paced, and so Mikhail Barcelona was trying to make best use of that. Aldebaran we did envisage going forward. He has done in the all-blue of Godolphin. Perhaps the one we didn't see being prominent, and maybe that was more by accident than design, was Dublin Pharaoh, who's just seemed a bit keen in the hands of David Egan there on the rail.
Yeah, it's watching the 2 American Pharaohs. They have very, very similar stride patterns, and they're it looks one in front of the other. He's just a horse that I think has his better days ahead of him, and I'd love to see both of them actually on the dirt pretty soon with those pedigrees. They just couldn't stack up. I mean, they were meant to be one-paced horses on the front end, and that's what they're going to be, and they're going to get passed by better horses in the end. Not anything profound there, but Star Safari was the best horse today.
And looking where those best horses came from, all at least middle pack or towards the rear of the field. So you can just see that the pink cap bobbing up and down. Away He Goes is pretty much stone last. We've not yet mentioned the good run of Record Man, who I was certainly dismissive of, and he's stepped up from that non-carnival run, hasn't he? He
has, and I feel like he's just, maybe we just haven't seen the best of him, even though he's 6 years old. He only has this will be his 12th run, and he did have a big gap in his form last year, so he has every right to, if his feet are right, if his body's right, if he's feeling well, to move forward, especially with that pedigree.
Let's try and dissect what happens in the second half of this race. You can see Star Safari, William Buick, just off the bridle there, but it's a bold move there and then to get into clear sailing. In fairness to Away He Goes, he's tracking the right horse. They've both made their moves at exactly the same time. Antonio's actually probably travelled that stride better, but as he's gone to pick up, he's just lugged in ever so slightly maybe. It's just cost him maybe a neck or so. I'm not saying it's the difference between defeat and victory, but both horses are pretty much picked up in identical fashion down that outside. Yeah,
it looked like maybe Antonio had a bullseye on William throughout the race. That might have been a strategy, and he just couldn't. He couldn't. I think he lost maybe a couple strides turning for home, and he couldn't quite get there. But it'll be interesting to see these two clash again, especially if they go into a smaller field where it's a little more strategic.
One horse that we didn't mention either before the race or after it was Global Storm in the red cap. He's probably one of those that's run on fairly well to finish out the first 6, but maybe keep an eye on his run. I'm not totally convinced he got a cleanest of runs through either. So you can see him, he's galloped out pretty strongly to suggest that he's been a bit unlucky, Global Storm. And
Richie was saying, that was his first run here. If he gets another run, you really have to look after him because he's he's probably going to stay at 93. And that's going to make him very well handicapped for races like this.
I don't think we're going to pick up the red cap from this shot. We're going to focus more on those over the pace, but I definitely think Global Storm was value to finish a little bit closer. Sakara King and Aldebaran, they just couldn't nip away, could they? They found First and foremost, classier horses too good, but then just the quicker horses as well coming down the outside. So we're not building these two up as being any great stars as in terms of going and winning on Super Saturday, but to win any carnival handicap from a host of Godolphin horses, you do need to have probably a good half a stone to a stone in hand, which I think those two have.
Yeah, and looking forward to opening up the track S on this and seeing what he and the way he goes, Star Safari and the way he goes close, because I'm pretty sure it was around the 24 flat mark, or maybe 23 and change.
To highlight how quick the track was when Walton Street broke the track record a few weeks ago, the time of that race was the best part of 3 seconds slower. Let's just pick up that red cap then, Mikey, on the rail. Cape Cavalli just comes in on top of Global Storm. You can see Richie Mullen's got nowhere to go really on the rail. Pulls him out there, and he's had enough room, but by the time he's got clear sailing, I think the race is as good as over, and he's certainly seen it out pretty well. But as is often the case, again, the action, though, has taken place down the outside. I do think clear running on the outside is much better than maybe taking the shorter route up the inner.
And Tig gave Reckerman a peach of a ride in this race. He really just put him in the perfect spot and gave him every shot to upset these horses. Love watching his action, because he just looks like a bulldog when he runs. He just low action, big round horse, just really just grinds into the ground. I'm surprised he's not a dirt horse.
Stereotypical Dubai with him may well turn him into a dirt horse if although perhaps his constitution isn't the greatest for it, and his one run on it so far has seen him finished well beaten. So why break what's why fix what's not broken with Record Man? It's certainly a good run. Charlie Appleby then was victorious in that second race, and he's now talking to Laura.
Noble Friend ahead in front. They left 800 behind in 48.5. Battle of Marathon is second. Ertagel's about to ease away from the inside. El Tren and calling out behind the leading group. The Mario comes to the outside. Then Forries Walsh and Mujarib is coming right down the centre. Ertagel put his head in front of Battle of Marathon. Forries Walsh but pounced on the outside. Went to his stable companion. Forries Walsh took the lead. 100 left to go. Forries Walsh in front of the El Rashidia. Ertagel battles back, but the South Africans are 1, 2 and 4 in the end. Forries Walsh beat Ertagel, Earnshaw third, and a photo from Mujarib. Then Battle of Marathon calling out Lamaria. Like the lights past the 600 metres mark in front of Mr. Owen. Elite Excalibur third on the heels of the pace. Promising Run now peels 3 deep. Then Earnshaw, Farrier and Gabriel. Like the lights lit up at the 300 metres mark in front. Promising Run on the outside, Mr. Owen in the centre, Elite Excalibur on the rail, and here's Earnshaw. Light the lights, not finding a great deal. Promising Run trying to get on terms. She's just about there. Earnshaw coming fast at the end. Promising Run hits the lead in the shadows of the post. Promising Run beat Light the Lights and Earnshaw. Then Elite Excalibur, Gabriel, Farrier and Mr. Owen last.
Battle pulled out 3 wide and about to make its run for Ocean Murphy. Light the Lights trying to attack onto its back. Then Bay of Poets with the red cap and Earnshaw just off them into the straight, and Ben Battle made a sharp run. Ben Battle at the 300 has quickly gone to the lead, and Bay of Poets is quickly out after it. Then Sharp Polo, Light the Lights down the outside. Then Earnshaw. Ben Battle is the front runner inside the funnel 200 metres, and clear of Bay of Poets has got a great turn of foot, and it races away Ben Battle. Ben Battle's going to cruise in for a second win in Dubai. It's Ben Battle easily. Second, Bay of Poets. Now getting through for third, Bravo Zola in a photo with Earnshaw, and close up to Light the Lights, followed by Sharp Polo. Bay of Poets led by a length on a A-Rod. Racing history. Now Dreamcastle just needs a little bit of room to get off the inside. Deauville moving up on the outside is First Contact. Behind them, Blair House. Leshlar with the red cap, and next of all is Eugenio, but into the straight Bay of Poets is the leader, joined by Dream Castle out in the middle. Now threading its way through is Leshlar, and also Blair House getting into the clear. Dream Castle's gone to the lead. Blair House down the outside with Racing History, but Dream Castle is clear, and it will hold them safely at bay here. It's Dream Castle who comes down for a very solid win. Wins it by 3 lengths on the wire. Tight for second, Racing History, or Leshlar, and close up Blair House. They were followed up by Eugenio, who finished on okay ahead of Deauville. It suggests it's going to be a blue winner, but which one? It's Loxley as they turn in, just easing off the fence. Allows room there for Mountain Hunter. Now Barney Roy begins to chime in, and Dream Castle tries to go with it. They sprint across the track as they go to the 250, and Barney Roy lets go with a big run out in the middle of the track. Dream Castle going with it. Mountain Hunter over on the inside. Barney Roy gets a half length in front. Dream Castle fights on strongly, then Mountain Hunter, but the Roy boys in town. It's Barney Roy charging away in the late stages, and Barney Roy is going to win the Al Rashidia by 2 lengths over Dream Castle, a much better run. Next it is Mountain Hunter. They were followed by Loxley, then came Majestic Mambo Sharpolo and Like the Lights.
I reckon the Godolphin domination recently in the Al Rashidia could just continue later on, and they could well win our next race as well. It is the Meydan Trophy, a select field of 8 lining up for this contest, which is worth $50,000. It's for the 3-year-olds, and we're on the turf over 1,900 metres. Number 1 is Irene. He'll appreciate being back on the green stuff. 2 is Grand Dubai, who tries it for the first time. Leopardo is running on turf for the first time in his career, despite being trained in the UK. We have 2 for Charlie Appleby. Mystical Dawn looks the second string. Secret Protector in there too. Underwater Attack goes for Saeed bin Saror. He is a maiden. Final Thought also lines up, and Revolute Me goes for Bent Olsen.
The more astute of you will have noticed we didn't hear from Charlie Appleby after that race. More will look back at some recent winners of the Al Rashidia, but Charlie will probably win this race anyway, so we'll hear from him either before or after. He'll probably win the Al Rashidia as well, but the Al Rashidia, the first of our Group 2 races, coming up a little bit later on. It's a good pointer towards probably more the Jebel Hatter than maybe the Dubai Turf itself, but it lacks a strong Godolphin horse here. I think Zakuski's still going to prove that he's of that level for me.
I mean, he could. I mean, he could come on from that run, and we've seen that over and over and over this carnival so far with second run Appleby horses. But, I mean, I could see at least 3 of these horses going on to the Dubai Turf. I don't think it's straight a Jebel Hatter prep for any means. And Lord Glitters, to me, is squarely the horse to beat.
Yeah, however way you look at it as well, I've tried to dissect it tactically, but I keep coming back to the point, well, Lord Glitters might just be the best horse anyway, and could still show a turn of foot even off a slow pace from the back.
And if you dissect the last run and assume that they're going to be close to that same fitness 3 weeks later, Lord Glitters just dusted them in the final 3 furlongs. He was a good 5-6 lengths faster than they were. One horse that did really close well is Bless Him, and he's a long price in here in the Rashidia in about an hour. But he's one that you want to look at. Also, if you're looking for value in there, Kinross. He had trouble in the final furlong.
Well, we've already seen Star Safari tighten up for a run. Maybe Zakuski does the same as well. But either way, it's an interesting race that's coming up, as Mikey said, in around about an hour's time. Before that, though, we do focus on the Meydan Trophy, and I kind of get the feeling that they've tried to throw on these 3-year-old races, particularly on the turf, get these youngsters to stretch out. They've not quite cottoned on yet. This isn't a strong race for me. It's more of a novice event that you'd see in England for horses that have won once and only had 2 or 3 starts. But as quite a few people often tell me, they buy horses to win guineas and derbies over here, so they buy the dirt horses and don't really concentrate on these turf races. I
mean, I think it's just a matter of just the population and horses coming. They're not going to send horses here just for this fleet of grass races, you know, anywhere from 6 furlongs to 9.5 for the 3-year-olds. But with that being said, I think there are some interesting horses in here. I think the Johnston horse, Leopardo, is perfectly suited to the race, and even Grand Dubai for Ali Rashid Al-Rahi is perfectly bred for the race. It's just whether or not, you know, him running for the 400th time this month is going to be a mark against him.
And of course, if anything's half decent, they do stay in England and be prepared for a classic campaign. Even Godolphin would probably take that route, wouldn't they, with a good 3-year-old Maybe less so Saeed bin Suroor. He's quite happy to run his best filly or colt, maybe more on the dirt. But here, I don't envisage Mystical Dawn or Secret Protector being amongst Charlie Appleby's European Guineas horses.
I mean, you never know how they progress. I mean, he did. You know, there has always been a bit of a buzz behind Secret Protector, and you know, when you win first out at Newmarket, no matter what time of year it is, it's a good thing with Mystical Dawn. So you know, I don't think they're chumps by any means.
No.
Any means, but I do think that they're obviously probably his third string.
Yeah, and obviously there's only so much they can probably learn from homework as well. On the track is where you want them to show it, and both horses have gone off the mark already in their primitive careers. Mystical Dawn, another one by See the Stars, and Warfront as well. And with Star Protector, it sounded as though they were considering dirt, but Charlie Appleby had a pretty useful horse in Rebels Romance for that anyway, didn't he?
And so the Galileo on the bottom there just says, you know, this is, and the way he ran, he really accelerated in his last run, and he showed a lot of promise in that first run as well. I was going to hold both being a 7 furlong race and it at Kempton compared to, say, a Newmarket against him, but then you look at Rebels Romance, you know, who ran there and came here and looks like the horse to beat in next week along with Cowan in the Saudi Derby. So, you know, I'm not going to hold that against him. This horse is obviously expensive. He's really well bred. Warfronts love firm or good to firm ground, and that's one of the reasons I picked him on top despite his extremely low value.
Yeah, indeed. So talking of the Saudi Derby, perhaps an opportune moment to have a look for a minute or so at the 3-year-olds that are likely to head out to Saudi next week. We've obviously got Rebels Romance. There's no Mahib. They're going to stick around for the Derby here. What sort of challenge is Rebels Romance going to face? And indeed, potentially Soft Whisper from Saeed. I
mean, if Soft Whisper goes, I think she'll be the horse to beat in there. Rebels Romance will be very tough, but Soft Whisper has tools. You know, and she has an acceleration on her that we haven't seen from anyone here. Cowan is a very good horse, very useful horse. Was second in a 1 mile stakes at Oaklawn Park around 2 turns. I think he'll appreciate going back to 1 turn for Steve Asmussen. He'll be very tough. He looked great coming off the plane yesterday in the videos that they posted. So I mean, he's going to be the only American in the race and the probably the toughest challenge to the Godolphin horses. And don't count out Mashakal because I know that they were invited, and he has a chance of going as well. So and he's going to be a huge pace factor at least.
It certainly will be. Yeah, the final fields for Saudi. Well, they're pretty much, well, the intended runners are out. We'll have declarations during the week. Let's focus on the here and now and Meydan. We are around about 10 minutes away from our third race. The horse is beginning to arrive in the parade ring for it. Not the biggest field. We've only got the 8 here. And quite a warm-priced favourite, but let's go through them. And this is Areen, who I actually thought shaped okay behind El Patriota. He actually beat more horses than seemed likely at one stage. Back on the turf here, already a winner on it. Yeah. Over in France, I thought he was the outsider who could fill a place in here.
He's the best value in this race by far. He's got a lot of class to him. I've really liked what I've seen from him in the flesh right now and in his win in France. I mean, he didn't run that poorly of a race in his first dirt try last time. I'm sorry, his second dirt try last time. It's just that he has to really move forward when it comes to wanting to win the race. I can see him picking up pieces here. He's a bit one-paced, but I think that, might work for him when these horses collapse in front of him.
I also felt that if this horse had been no good, then Salon Bingadeh might well have said to Mikhail, well, you can go and ride one for Charlie Appleby in this. So the fact that he has stuck with the stable horse, Areen, is a good sign. This is Grand Dubai. He's had 6 starts, not quite the million that Mikey suggested, but it's still enough in the context of a relatively inexperienced or relatively young horse, I should say. His form's not progressive, but being by Dawn Approach, the step onto the grass gives hope.
It does. It's Dawn Approach out of a Monjou mare, so he's bred to go about 4 miles, and I feel like he doesn't particularly look like a grass horse to me. He's a bit stocky and strong looking, more of a dirt build, but I think he's just an honest horse, and as long I think he moves up on the grass. I would just love to have seen him come into this race with, a little, fewer miles on him at this point.
That's certainly definitely the case. This will be his 3rd run in 3 weeks, having contested the Al Bastakir trial and the Guineas. And whilst I said he's not progressive, his form's not necessarily on the decline either. He's just not been good enough in those races. We saw Leopardo just before. We'll maybe talk about him a little bit later on. We should have plenty of time to look at all of these. There is Mystical Dawn, and maybe we can find out a bit more about him from his trainer, Charlie Appleby, who's got 2 in the race, now talking to Laura.
That was a very pleasing victory by Star Safari. You must have been happy. He moved up a lot from his first run.
Yeah, no, delighted. Pleased with his first run there. Again, that was his first start since the Carnival 2019 there. 2020, should I say, sorry. And we were more hopeful and confident about stepping up to the 1.5 miles. You know, we felt that if he did see that trip out, it will hopefully open more doors for him. And, you know, William got him to a nice rhythm round there. He just said he had to come out off the turn. They had to just give himself a bit of room. But he said once he gave him the daylight, he said he galloped through the line strongly.
Any reason why the big break? Was it just he needed to strengthen up, something like that?
To be honest with you, it just gave a lot of those Carnival horses last year the summer off, so they all went to pasture, and that's why a few of them have just needed their first runs a little bit. They've done a bit too well on their holidays.
Fair enough. And we've got 2 in here, Mystical Dawn and Secret Protector. Is William on the right one, do you think?
I think he's on the sharper model for tonight. Yeah, he looks, he's stripping a bit fitter. Mystical Dawn, he didn't surprise us when he won at Newmarket. It was a soft ground win there, and he just, the penny dropped as he came out the dip, really, and hit the rising ground. And he's not really an enthusiastic workhorse, so therefore I think whatever he does tonight, he'll definitely spring forward for the run. And whether that puts him into contention in a couple of weeks' time, coming back to the mile for the Meydan Classic, we'll see. But I feel William's probably on the right horse for sure.
Okay, that's really interesting. And one last question: how's Zakuski?
Good. He's come out the run well. As we know, that night it was a sort of a bit of a disjointed race, Mythical in there, and so yeah, it's the race itself sort of, like I say, just became a little bit disjointed. I'm not saying it played into the winner's hands, but we just feel tonight, I think it'll be a different style of race. Everyone will be a bit more on top of one another, and that might just suit our horse a bit more. And expect a big run for sure.
Fascinating. Good luck, and many thanks for talking to us.
Brilliant. Thanks, Laura.
Always nice to hear from Charlie Appleby, who is there legging up the red cap of Secret Protector, who certainly looks a little bit fitter for me than his stablemate Mystical Dawn. Yeah, I mean he's looks like a different species. He's beautiful, just a really, really good looking war front. He's got a little more leg to him than they usually do, and he's just well put together animal. Certainly is. So William Buick wearing the red cap as he makes his way out. This was 1 from 2. Both his runs coming at Kempton, and was strong at the finish over the 1400 metres last time. His dam's related to Mizu, who was a 2-mile winner, so every reason to expect the extra 500 metres or 2.5 furlongs to be firmly in his favour here. Saibin Saror will try and ensure that Charlie Appleby doesn't have it all his own way, though neither of the profiles of Underwater Attack, who's in shot there, or Final Thought were particularly appealing to me. This horse still a maiden and was well beaten on the dirt last time, but promise on debut at least, and back on the turf's going to help.
It's about Final Thought.
Yeah.
Underwater Attack. Underwater Attack. Yeah, I like to see them.
Similar comments apply to both horses, really.
Yeah. Obviously the pedigrees there being a half to Secret Ambition and Royal Marine. So you hope that kicks in at some point. But I don't really see this horse factoring in any way.
Well, Final Thought then it's had 2 starts here, and actually her third to Soft Whisper does stack up pretty well in this race, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Final Thought is sneaky in here. I did not pick her because I think the Secret Protectors might put on a show for us, but she should run much better. I'll see the stars on the dirt. I would never pick. So I was firmly against her last time. Going back to her best surface, she's going to move forward. That's it.
She's got the cheek pieces on as well for the first time. This is Revolute Me, who is certainly the smallest filly, or certainly the smallest horse full stop in this field. She's got the cheek pieces on. She was last of 7 behind Soft Whisper in the UAE 1000 Guineas. She used to be trained by Johnny Murter in Ireland, where she wasn't particularly progressive, although does have a bit more experience than some of her rivals here. But with that, she is exposed and doesn't look good enough in this race. Just taking a bit of a keen hold going down to post in the hands of Elion Chavez. We can bring Laura back in. Is this a a case of which Charlie Appleby horse, and did he fill you with much confidence as to whether one was significantly better than the other?
All about Secret Protector for tonight.
Yeah.
He made it very clear that this is a sort of two-stop strategy for Mystical Dawn, possibly with the Meydan Classic his main aim, and he felt that this Secret Protector was going to be, a lot sharper for tonight, I think, were his words. So it's very rare, actually. I know he's got it wrong in a couple of Cape Verdes, but William doesn't get it wrong very often, does he?
No, he doesn't.
So he's the one, and it's very difficult to look beyond them, isn't it? I kind of agree with Mikey. I had a very small investment each way on Final Thought. I think she probably hated being on the dirt with 14 rivals last time. A smaller field back on the surface, which she knows and which she's, as Mikey says, been by Sea the Stars bred for. I thought she was interesting, maybe, but it'd be a surprise if she beat Charlie's pair.
Yeah, I think the way the prices have gone now, Secret Protector, who opened up around about evens last night, he's been heavily back, to beg your pardon, and it is a case of trying to find one at bigger prices to fill either of the first 3 places with the 8 runners that is still available if you're backing each way on the international market. So let's perhaps give you a galloping clue with Mystical Dawn. There he is in the white cap, horse number 4 there. This horse, I suppose any Newmarket maiden winner you have to give a bit of a thumbs up to. Obviously, it was back-end stuff on soft ground, so then maybe that devalues the form to some degree. But Mystical Dawn kind of took a while to get going, but soft ground, well on top of the finish, and certainly going to stay this extra 300 metres, you'd imagine.
That's exactly what Charlie said. He said he just felt that the penny sort of dropped with him coming out of the dip. The soft ground makes you slightly question the form, but it was an okay race. The third has won since. The second, Meritorious, is trained by John Gosden and finished behind Rebel's Romance since. So that gives you hope. As you say, pedigree and running style, the step up in trip is going to be no bother. He's very stoutly bred on the dam side. So I quite like him, but now I've heard that this is, he's probably going to need the run more than the other.
Certainly the way it looked as well in the parade ring. He was a little bit stocky. His dam's related to Twilight Payment. So both of the Appleby horses here, plenty of stamina on the dam side, and Sea the Stars as well. We'll obviously put that in as well.
Did Irene have the blinkers on last time?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
It's not blinkered first time anyway. He's not blinkered first time.
I would not be surprised with Mikhail jumping on if he tries to send this horse. It's a bit of a loper. It hasn't shown a lot of speed in his career, but they might have sharpened him up in the last couple of weeks. They might have blown him out a couple of times. You never know. The blinkers definitely helps, and there's no pace in this race. So, and he or Leopardo, one of the 2 greys, or two of the 3, actually any of the 3 greys I can see on the front.
his whole career's got an odd look to it, Irene, so far. He's got 1 win, but then all of his other 4 starts have been pretty woeful. He's not really got close to winning. I say woeful. That El Patriota run was not bad, but the point being that he's either won or not got anywhere close to winning.
The owner has McFancy, doesn't he? I sort of figured that maybe he just sort of thought of sending one on, send 2.
Yeah, exactly.
But he'd run well enough in OK company in France, but maybe they felt there was going to be nice money to be made here over the winter. He's certainly going to be so much happier back on this turf, you would imagine. I think Mikey's possibly right. Maybe Mikhail will seize the initiative here if he has a willing partner, which he may not.
As soon as they got down to the start, they're going to go in, so we can't give you any galloping clues, unfortunately. But let's head up to Craig Evans for the call of the Meydan Trophy. On paper, it looks a bit of a match between the Charlie Appleby pair, Mystical Dawn and Secret Protector, although Charlie Appleby believing the former. Mystical Dawn very much going to need the run, and maybe Final Thought there. One of 2 fillies in the contest can upset the Appleby cart. Let's head up to Craig.
Third race of the night, the Meydan Trophy. Only 2 or 3 to load forward now. Mystical Dawn about to go forward. Revolute Me to come forward with the shiny silver cap. And also Underwater Attack to go in. So Secret Protector with the red cap is the short price favourite. And they're right now. Underwater Attack goes forward. And they're right. Starter sends them away, often racing. Grand Dubai off the inside commenced well, along with the filly Final Thought alongside of it early. Now Leopardo is coming across from a whitish berth in the early part, and driving up into a forward position now is Secret Protector. Revolute Me between horses. Over on the inside, Mystical Dawn. Next of all, Underwater Attack, and Irene went back to the rear. Very compact as they join the course proper. Go by the 1600 metres mark, and the front runner is Leopardo. Leopardo Leopardo's out by only a neck. Over on the inside, Final Thought is kicking through. Next of all, Secret Protector, short price international favourite with the red cap, Godolphin jacket. Over on the inside is Grand Dubai. They were followed by Revolute Me and Underwater Attack around the outside. Then Mystical Dawn locked away over on the fence ahead of Arene. 26.41 was the lead as they're about to come off the back straight. Kicking through to the front, Final Thought shows the way. Leopardo matching it fairly well on the outside. A length and a half then to Secret Protector, followed by Grand Dubai. Then came Revolute Me. Underwater Attack around the outside. Now edging off the fence is Richie Mullen with Mystical Dawn. Just pushing Arene out a little bit wider as they come towards the top of the straight. And about to straighten up. Leopardo goes up on the outside of Final Thought. They go together. Then Secret Protector travelling strongly in third. Around the outside, running into it now as they turn for home was Arene. It's made a fairly sharp run of them as they come into the straight. A gap away in the field then to Mystical Dawn. Leopardo is the front runner, but Secret Protector looms large on the outside, goes to the front. Arene's running a cracker down the outside, but Secret Protector might just have a big class edge on these. It's raced away, got away 4 or 5 lengths over Arene running to second. Battling away is Final Thought, but Secret Protector very cosy for William Buick. Secret Protector wins by 6. Second Arene, a good performance. Close up behind them, Final Thought, followed by Leopardo. A gap off then to Mystical Dawn, followed by Grand Dubai. And well back after covering a bit of ground was Underwater Attack, along with Revolute Me. Seen bigger margins here, but I think it could have been a lot more. Secret Protector is hacked up and has won with the proverbial leg in the air. Secret Protector, race-to-race double for Will Buick and Charlie Appleby. Really good run from Arene in second. Made a sharp move from around about the 600 metres mark and moved around the outside and looked a fleeting chance probably at about the 300 metres, but then in the twinkle of an eye, Secret Protector put a gap on them and raced away from Arene. Final Thought, foot on well, the filly. Over on the inside, Leopardo dropping back to fourth. So Secret Protector builds on its good record in the UK, where it's been on the all-weather, comes to the turf here for the first time and has now won 2 of 3 starts and a very comfortable performance taking out the Meydan trophy.
Well, if you were happy to risk the rent money on Secret Protector, you'd have taken great heart from what Charlie Appleby said beforehand, that this horse was very much the here and now, and let's be honest, he would be the horse next time as well, because he's absolutely dominated this field. Beat Final Thought to give Godolphin a 1-2. It's as though that might be wrong, because Arene's definitely got second, so the provision result on the big screen has got it incorrect. Arene will have finished second behind this winner, Secret Protector, who I'm not sure we've learnt too much about, Mikey, but he can do no more than be as impressive as he was, and he's now 2 from 3 in his career.
Yeah, he's just too good. He was ridden with I haven't seen a horse ridden with that much confidence in a long time. All the way around, he was just waiting to push the button. It was very impressive. Arene ran a huge race, also ridden with a bit of confidence. He just tucked him out the back, opposite of what we thought. Made a big run on the outside. Looked like, for a moment that he had a shot. And then it was all over for him. But good run for the Sun Giants Causeway in second. 2 very well-bred horses, 1-2.
I suppose his best chance of picking up some place money was to be out the back and following this Secret Protector rather than being the sitting duck, as indeed Final Thought and Leopardo were. They finished 3rd and 4th respectively, but Laura, this horse was in a league of his own, as the betting suggested, as Charlie Appleby suggested as well.
Yeah, he was much too good for them, wasn't he? Obviously, spot on for today. He's earned back a little slice of that $800,000 purchase price, and he can go on to bigger things, you'd think, based on this effort. And so they may not have been a great field in behind, although Mystical Dawn, if he does reappear in the Meydan Classic, could well be interesting. And I agree with Mikey. Arene ran a super race and is definitely one that they'll be looking to keep on the turf in the future. I also thought Leopardo ran a lot better than he did last time behind El Patriota, but yeah, no real surprises. He came over to the centre of the track, which was perhaps a little bit different. I need to see the replay to see if the horse sort of took him there or if it was something William did deliberately. But yeah, it was probably one of the easiest races to predict of the evening.
And in doing so, he's actually matched the track-winning time of Yahayati, 156.16, with a slight caveat that there wouldn't be too many turf races over this distance, and 1,900 metres It tends to be 18 or 2,000, so I'm not sure this course and distance is used too often, but Secret Protector has absolutely bolted in here, and it's a quick double for William Buick and Charlie Appleby, and their night's work by no means done. They've got two other good chances, in fact two favourites in the remaining two of the three races to come, so they could well follow up. And what do you think the plan will be with this horse? Was there any suggestion? I mean, I said to Mikey that Charlie wouldn't bring his best three-year-olds over by any stretch, but they do blossom out here, and I suppose he'd be worth a try in a Derby trial perhaps back home.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it, if they go that route with him, as we saw with Star Safari and many others over the years. Charlie's not afraid to come out here, have one run and say, right, that's it, the horse goes back. And of course he did it very successfully with Massar, among others. So it might well be that they've got targets in the UK in mind, which would be really exciting if he can do it. It's not been easy over the years, but Charlie did it brilliantly, of course, as well last year with Gaiath. So let's see what lies in store for Secret Protector. I mean, say the only question mark today would be that he may well have just bossed inferior opposition here. It was such a confident ride. William knew he was on the best horse.
It was almost reminiscent of those days when Godolphin, just before they flew back to Europe, they had trials amongst themselves. It was the race was almost that easy for him, wasn't it? Just taking a keen enough hold off the back of Leopoldo and Final Thought. Irene has come from the back, and that was a good run worth noting. I think you do give him some credit for finishing second, don't you?
Yeah, Mikhail gave him just room to really catch a stride here and catch his wind, and he's making a good run on the outside. He's losing a bit of ground, but not on these sweeping turns. It's not that big of a deal, to be honest, but he's one that, you know, they move on and try to pick up another check somewhere else. I wouldn't be surprised if they put him back on the dirt for the best Kia.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be one or two trying that.
It's a massive stride.
At this point, Final Thought and Leopoldo were going at it. The other Godolphin horse, Mystical Dawn, he kind of did run rusty, didn't he? He ran as though he was lacking sharpness for this contest. And with Grand Dubai, we point out that he's bred for it, but Sandro Pava in his interview said that he'd never actually stepped foot on grass in his life. So there's been bred for it and probably getting used to it. He's not really run any sort of promise in the run, but
it's a totally different world when it comes to their cadence, how relaxed they are in the beginning of the race, and how they actually have to use their lungs. And he definitely was not used to it. He never seemed comfortable in the run.
No, he didn't. He was always out the back, as William Buick has had the luxury of a good look around him inside that final furlong. Anything to take from the run of Final Thought? Again, she's beginning to look a little bit exposed now. She was rated 80 coming into this. Bearing in mind Leopardo, he was rated 92. That probably flatters him to a degree, although again for him that was also his turf debut.
I mean, she's Final Thought's just looking like a useful little honest filly that you can put on. I mean, you can put her on multiple surfaces. She's proven to be okay on the dirt, but she's far superior on this surface. She kind of reminds me of to a lesser extent of a longer-winded Final Song, in that she seems to be honest and run a race every time.
Yeah, she's certainly not up to the level of Secret Protector, who won by 5.5 lengths in the end. The big screen has amended the result. I wouldn't say amended it, they've correctly put it up. Irene always did finish second, and Final Thought has been confirmed as
the
third.
unsaddled third, though.
Yeah. Well, Mikhail walked past our screen, looked at it, said, "I'm sure I finished second." You did, yes. You were spot on, you did finish second. And, some promise, I guess, from Irene, although turf options will now be limited for these horses, really, until next January. Yeah. That's the issue with the 3-year-olds and the grass campaign. There's obviously the Meydan Classic coming up. They'll have to drop back in trip. I'm not sure there's another race over this far for them this carnival on the grass.
I mean, they would have to just... I mean, he's rated 86. I don't know what he's going to go up from here. There might be a race... there may be a race during the regular season that he could get into the domestic runs, but... Yeah. He's one that I just see them going probably back to the dirt with that pedigree and giving him one more shot. The best of Kia is usually a crapshoot anyway, full of horses and from 80 to 100, and lots of traffic, and the horse with the best trip usually wins.
And there was a sort of an element of him getting over the surface last time as well, with that late headway where he was. I think he was more towards the inner, wasn't he? So a wider trip, and he might have made a bit more headway.
And the distance is key for him. He's out of an Empire Maker mare that just screams that he needs a bit of a trip, and he's still learning, as you can see today. They changed the equipment with him, and they're getting him to a point where he's useful.
Yeah, we're in no way building up Irene. It was a hollow second in the end behind Secret Protector. He was a very easy winner for Charlie Appleby. There seems to be some hold-up in the trophy presentation for whatever reason, but hopefully that will take place soon. It's a second one for Charlie Appleby and William Buick on the night. But for the trophy, we're going to preview or look more into our Al Mattoon Challenge Round 2. One of the main contenders in that is Dubai Warrior. John Gosden's his trainer, Thady Gosden, the assistant, talking to Laura.
Well, it's wonderful to have Dubai Warrior here, and Thady Gosden has come over to oversee his preparations for Mattoon Challenge 2. Great to have him here. He's a really exciting horse. And tell us about the thought process that made you guys want to bring him this year.
Well, the owner was very keen to bring him here, as most of the family has a better form on kind of all-weather surfaces and artificial surfaces, so it seems that it was earlier to bring him over here to the dirt, and the race will hopefully suit him.
And he looks like he's loving it in the mornings. I guess you can't 100% tell, but so far he's handling it nicely.
Yeah, exactly. He's done a faster bit on here, and he handles the surface well. Just have to see how the race pans out. It's on a big field at the moment, so hopefully if he breaks well, he won't be in too much tip back. And he likes a nice strong pace, and he can lengthen off that. So we'll see. And
his form from the UK is top notch, isn't it? Really, it's sort of, as you say, on the all weather.
Yeah, exactly. He's got very little weather form in the UK, and I guess that was one of the reasons coming over.
And quite ironic, really. He faces his full brother Mutasadir in the same race.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting to see how they net each other.
And you're going to be, you think, in the Middle East for a prolonged period of time, because, of course, exciting runners for the yard in Saudi next week.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we'll get a couple over there next week. It's a brilliant meeting. It's fantastic to be able to go there again this year, hopefully. And
Mishrif did you proud, didn't he, last year? Ran a great race there, then went home and kind of was barely beaten. Apart from his last run, he was just a star.
Yeah, exactly. He... soft ground, well, I say the very soft ground at Astor he wasn't in love with that, but he had a great season last year, and it's impressive for him throughout the Saudi and run well in the dirt there, and then come back and obviously run well in France throughout the season.
And just back to Dubai Warrior briefly, you're hoping for a good run on Thursday, and then owners very much, I'm sure, hoping for another Dubai World Cup runner.
Exactly. We'll have to see how he comes out the race and how he does on the day, and then after that I think they'll make a decision.
Well, it's a tough ask for Dubai Warrior on the dirt for the first time, but can be done. Mishrif, as we heard there, ran a great race in the Saudi Cup Saudi Derby, I beg your pardon, last year, on the surface for the first time. So who knows? We'll find out in around about 15-20 minutes' time. But let's wrap up our third contest as Charlie Appleby collects his prize for that Meydan trophy, sponsored by Emirates Holidays. And probably one of his easier carnival victories that he's managed to bag over the last 4 or 5 years. Broke the 100 mark last week, and he's very quickly pressed on in search of his second century. There's William Buick collecting his prize as well. Been a good carnival for William Buick. Of course, James Doyle suspended today. William Buick hot-footing it off the stage, and now talking to Laura.
A big well done to William Buick. That looked really nice. He's an exciting horse.
Yeah, he is. That's his third run tonight, so he's obviously, very lightly raced, and he's not done nothing wrong in his 3 runs. So that tonight was just perfect, ideal, exactly what we kind of came here for, and he put up a really nice performance. A performance which is going to improve for us. So, I don't know what the immediate plan for him is, but I have a suspicion that he might head back to the UK and have an early season target.
He looks very straightforward to ride, quite professional. Is that how it is?
Yeah, he's always been a very amenable horse to deal with, and he's very honest, very game, and he's just he ticks a lot of boxes, and he's very exciting.
And what about Zakuski later on? You must be looking forward to him.
Yeah, absolutely. He ran a great race in the Singspiel. Obviously, Lord Glitters won very well that night, but you do sort of think that the race was set up for Lord Glitters with the pace we went. So I think tonight possibly more of a level playing field with a 3-pound pull as well. So, and Mr. Kuski's entitled to come on for his last run. So yeah, let's hope that we can challenge Lord Glitters.
And you won the sprint very nicely last week. What about Story of Light in the last? He's been here before and didn't go too far away from the winner.
No, he did well here last year, and first time he runs over 5. But look, there's a lot of pace in the race, so it's just a case of hopefully we can hang on to the coattails and then we can pick the piece up later on.
Really good to talk to you. Well done. Good luck later.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Cheers.
Winning Butte will be in action in Saudi next week, next Friday and Saturday, part of the International Jockeys Challenge taking place on the first of the 2 days over in Saudi Arabia. You'll be heading that way as well, Mike. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I leave on Monday evening.
Oh, that's
there
early.
And spend the whole week doing a lot of work there, and I'm excited. It's the races themselves have stacked up really well, really competitive, and especially the big race, the clash. They're traveling across the world to do it, but the clash between Dixco and Charlatan is going to be interesting.
And we heard from Thady Gosson there about Mishriff. He takes his place as well, but are the Americans going to be very tough to crack in this?
If they see through the 9 furlongs, fine, which is still a tiny bit of a question mark on that surface for them around one turn. There's nothing that comes close, to be honest. And they've never met each other, but they couldn't come into the race any more differently. There's one that's only run 4 times and never been headed. And you have or never lost, and he's won by an average of 6.5 lengths. And then you have another with 3 seasons of starts who's been, he's battle hardened and is coming in off 3 huge wins. So,
and from what I've seen of the track, it looks quite a long straight. Is that right?
And it's about the same as here.
Yeah.
It's a firm.
But in comparison to America, that would be long.
It's longer than it's a good 30-40 meters, maybe even up to 70 more than what they're used to. So the jockeys have to be a little more just patient around the turn, around the bend. They can't push too early. But the key about this year's Saudi Cup is they have the 2 favorites have the exact same style. The barrier draw is going to mean everything. It's going to be a chess match all the way through because nobody's going to be faster than them unless they're on a suicide mission earlier in the race. And these are horses that can go off in, 24, 46, 110 sectionals.
Well, last year it was a pretty brutal race. Are you envisaging something similar, war of attrition?
It will be. And don't count out military law because of that. He's a grinding type, and he's going to be very tough in the race. I feel like, and it'd be great for Antonio and Musaba if they got it done, and Nasser, who gives so much to the region as far as racing goes.
In terms of UAE representation, it's maybe thinned out a little bit over the course of the last few weeks. Obviously, we lost Mattoon sadly last week, who may well have gone over, but still expecting a strong challenge, particularly the turf races. It seems as though at least Bahrain are going to have representation again. Dark Power.
Dark Power will be good in there. I think maybe Land of Legends might run in the turf sprint as well. It's I'll fall back on military law. It's probably the best chance of top 3 for all of them. But yeah, it's going to be very good.
Hopefully we'll have live coverage of all of it next Saturday. But let's head into the parade ring now, Laura, for details of tonight's feature.
We're on to our feature race, and one of the oldest races run here in Dubai, Mattoon Challenge Round 2, dates right back to 1994. It's been won by some pretty smart horses over the years, including 2 that have got on to Dubai World Cup glory. Moon Ballad and Thunder Snow won this, and the big one in the same year. So we've got a good prize money as well for it, $293,000 for over the 1,900 metres on the Dirts course. And if you win it, you'll pick up $175,000. Not bad at all for a couple of minutes' work. Number 1 is AJUSTE FISCAL, who's won over as far as 2,400 metres. Blown by Wind, our Jebel Ali Mile winner. It's number 2, Capizano, Group 1 winner, of course. Dubai Warrior. Fascinating entrance into the race. Then we have Furnace backing up pretty quickly from Jebel Ali just last week. No mark of approval. Mutasadir lines up, as does Quip. Got the blinkers on for the first time, this horse. Salute the Soldier. And last but by no means least, he's been quite well supported, the Great Collection.
It's a fascinating renewal of the Mattoon Challenge Round 2. Nothing with standout claims, you would say. 1 or 2 with something to prove. And as a result, one of the most open renewals I can remember for a long time. I think it was around about 4-1, 9-2 the field when I last looked. AJUSTE FISCAL is the first one that we can look at then. and I thought he ran with plenty of credit behind military law. He was being sort of cribbed in some areas for not sustaining his effort, but I kind of put that down to a lack of a pace over a trip that was too short for him.
Yeah, I think that's all it was. He had a nice menace to him on the turn, which got a few of us excited, but I feel like this is just his trip. You know, he's a Group 1 winner or Grade 1 winner over a mile and a half, so and 10 furlongs. So these 9.5 is just going to be much more to his liking, and he's kind of like Al Patriota. I could see a similar trip where he just keeps grinding them down.
We saw Blown by Wind there, who's one of a couple stepping up in trip and has a bit to prove that wise, but the way he saw out the Jebel Ali Stakes, the Jebel Ali Mile win, I beg your pardon, suggests that the extra distance shouldn't be too much of an issue. And I think the first thing we both said about Capizano as he walked in was he's not sweaty enough.
Yeah, I mean, give him time. You know, by the time he might be dripping by the time he gets to the gate, but he's also very low-key in general right now, which I usually see him prancing a little bit at this point. You know, and like we've stated many times that, you know, he's better when he looks terrible.
I think we both commented on that, didn't we, in his run in the first round, and maybe just this is now 7 that he's not quite got that step, but I thought tonight his chance of dominating was the best he's had so far this season. Dubai Warrior might have something to say from that. He might have no other choice but from stall 9 to go forward. Frankie Dettori is his style. But a lot of his pedigree suggests it's going to be a bit of an ask for him. I think Dan Silly's 0 from 40 on dirt over here. So there's the obvious question marks, aren't there?
Yeah, and he's kind of a free-running horse. If he gets in any traffic or if he gets stuck anywhere and takes a lot of dirt, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like Frankie's going to know to get him into a spot where he's free of dirt and running at his own pace.
At least stall 9 will help in that respect. We can see him taking a 3 or 4 wide berth. Fairly quick run to that first bend, but Frankie will try and slot him in a little bit maybe after that. He's just getting a little bit warm as well. There is Furnas, who backs up quickly from his Jebel Ali Stakes when he actually went off odds-on favourite in that, and disappointing as a result. He was the class act on ratings. I suppose he was entitled to a flat run, but now turns out quickly.
Yeah, and he comes back to a trip over which he won 2 back very impressively over a weak Group 1 winner in McFancy. But I do think that this is just too much for him. I feel like he will be a factor in the tempo, though, and the pace.
I think limitations were certainly exposed to a degree last time, although previous defeats of Salter in Dubai, who was his conqueror last week, does firmly suggest that Furnas wasn't anywhere near his best. I think that was reasonable enough to assume. This is Mutasadir, who is the full brother to Dubai Warrior. He's also a very good polytrack horse where he's successful in 6 of his 9 starts. He's got a long absence to overcome, drawn in stall 10 as well, so there was definitely a fefew question marks to have with him, and he looks more of a stayer than Dubai Warrior.
He does. You know, I think 12 furlongs is his best trip on the all-weather. He's got a huge stride on him when he does reach out for it. He's just a grinder. And that's why he's just a little better on the poly than he is on the grass.
I think they'll find out a bit about him today. They can always take him back to the grass and those longer distance races if they see fit. Capizano just getting a little bit more worked up as he goes past us. But there is Quip, who 1 or 2 given a sneaky fancy for. Bupat Seema often says he's a much better workhorse than he's shown on the track, but now's the time to show it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if he were a young horse, I would be worried about that statement, but he's a quality horse. He's won 2 Grade 2s, 2 quality Grade 2s back home in the U.S., and he's very, very good. I do think that he just needs things to go his way. He needs the pace scenario to set up for him.
We can maybe find out a bit more about Quip now as we head into the parade ring, and Laura.
Going to get the lowdown on Quip from Muamma. Now, I know you like this horse. How do you think he'll go today?
Well, hopefully he have got the class, and if he bounce back to his old form, he's in a second in a Group 1 in America. He's a Group 2 winner, and he've got the class. But the key of him, you have to put him in the race. Like all the time when he ran good, he traveled like first or second. So this is the key of, if he break, even we spoken with the previous trainer, he said if he jump, put him from beginning of the race, of the gate, because he's very slow from the gate. So if he jump, put him in the race, he will battle in the end. So hopefully he's in a good form. He's done 2 pieces of work. He had a run under his belly, so there is no excuse for him. Like even we gelded him last year. He was a stallion. We gelded him, so there is no excuse. He used to the track. acclimatized, gelded. So he have to perform, hopefully, today.
And that's the thing. A lot of these other horses in the race, they maybe don't like dirt, they maybe don't stay. He does all that.
Yeah, I mean, he's like American pedigree. I mean, he's by just your humor, and his dam is also dirt pedigree, 100%. He liked the ground, and he have no problem. Either it was fast or heavy, he get on, and even muddy. I mean, he ran on all kind of service. So the ground is not an issue, and he should run a good race.
And the blinkers are just to help him, just sharpen him up?
Just let him, you know, the horses, when they get like after 5 years, they get bored from racing. So the trainers like to put some equipment, headgear, like to sharpen them up out of there. So it's like a tool. Like some of them get bored from the career, and some of them, it make a lot of change with them. So hopefully he's back. If he run back to his form, I think he'll be there.
Oh, really good to talk to you. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
There is the only one we've not seen so far, Salute the Soldier, who is traditionally late on parade. He always gets mounted in the saddling enclosures, makes his way down behind the pony, but looks nice and relaxed. He's actually, I think, a far more relaxed horse now than he was certainly 12 months ago, and maybe even these measures they take with him now they can dispense with in time. Maybe he's almost a bit too relaxed, hence why he's gone up in trip tonight.
He's really taken advantage of this no crowds thing. He's probably benefited more than most horses. He's matured and come into his own in this yard especially, but he's always been honest. I really do worry about the trip with him, though. The sepoys don't really, that doesn't scream 9.5 furlongs, much less on dirt. But I do think that he did finish well in his last run. I'm still waiting for him to show the same burst that he showed last year in the Berge Nahar.
Yeah, and with that in mind, third time, I suppose, third start of the season, could be an opportune moment, perhaps. Fauzi Nas, we know, brings them along gradually. Certainly the better horses in his yard, and he certainly took a step up from his reappearance when third to Military Law last time, but probably a similar step up, or a greater step up, is required tonight if he's to get the better of some of the more exalted rivals in here, including the Great Collection, who we didn't mention too much about. He's definitely been an unsung hero of the season, really. I don't think people gave him too much credit for his win earlier in the campaign in the Creek Mile. He then followed that up with a good second to Military Law, and he's certainly in the peak of his powers, but blown by wind, again, an element of the unknown about him, because this was incredibly impressive on the face of things. He goes up an extra 300 metres today. Is that going to be an issue for him?
I'm really undecided about that. Yeah. On pedigree, I don't think it really works for him. I feel like being an invincible spirit, that this treated dirt that they have is much more kind to turf pedigrees at Jebel Ali. But he did run fairly well when he missed the start too back here. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs a huge race, but at the same time, I equally wouldn't be surprised if he finishes last.
Yeah, the start will be key to him again. They, I believe, will be putting him in last. He'll break from stall 2 on this occasion. Imagine he'll be out the back, whatever happens, just hunting around and hopefully picking up a few pieces late on. Here is the aforementioned The Great Collection, who we can see beating a couple of today's rivals, Salute the Soldier, AJUSTE, FISCAL, in the first round of the Mattoon Challenge. I felt when he won the Entazar, he had the Creek Mile, he had a fitness advantage. He probably had a sharpness advantage on this occasion as well, over a couple, Laura. But at what point do we actually give him credit for being an improving 7-year-old?
I know, I feel really sorry for him. He never gets any credit, does he? And this was a good run. He's not exactly finishing like a train, is he? But he's staying on, and Doug said that they've been keen to try him over a further trip for a while. So I think he's got stouter claims of staying it than a few of these, to be honest. Yeah. I agree with what Mikey said about the pedigree for blown by wind, but if he runs like he did at Jebel Ali and is at the back and can run past them, then he gives himself every chance, I think. It's a really interesting race because apart from Mutasaddir, I wouldn't really rule out any of them. I think any of them could win. And Salute the Soldiers, I can't get away from how brilliant he was on Super Saturday and how much speed he showed on that occasion and how dominant he was. I just don't think we've seen the same Salute the Soldier so far this year.
No, we certainly haven't. He was behind the Great Collection last time. Do you think they'll be moaning the fact they didn't run in the fire break last week with the Great Collection?
I mean, I feel like this was the obvious place to try him. They can literally they can pack him up for 6.5 weeks and run him in the Godolphin Mile after this race, no matter what. And if he comes out bouncing, they can run him in the Berge Nahar in the meantime. The key with him, with the Great Collection, is that he has to change leads in that final furlong, because that's why he kind of ambled home with his big stride and outran the rest of the plotters. He had more momentum. He just happened to be on the wrong lead. If he had changed leads, I feel like he would have got a lot closer to Military Law. But nothing was beating Military Law that day. He was simply the best horse in the field. Mucha Sadir, I think he's going to run a really great race in the 2022 Jebel Ali Stakes. I can't wait till they try him there with that big stride and that turf pedigree. He is a toss in here. Quip is going to be very tough, I think, in this race. I keep talking about him, but one day he's going to prove me right. I just feel like he's too good of a horse to have run so poorly here.
Probably similar vein to Switzerland in some respects, isn't he? High-rated horse coming here. He's only had 3 starts here, so there is the potential for him to build on what he's done so far, which in truth isn't a massive amount. How do we see this panning out, Laura, tactically? I think most people envisaging Capizano, Dubai Warrior to be the 2 going forward. That horse in shot, Furnas, unlikely to be far away either.
Capizano's probably got a slightly easier task than he had last time, in that he's drawn in 1, and if he gets into an easy lead and nothing takes him on, he's going to be very hard to peg back. He's been pretty much hassled his last couple of starts, which haven't really seen him finish. The fact that Mikael's chosen him is very interesting. We're all forgetting Furnas, maybe. The fact that he was slightly lame in a right 4 after Jebel Ali is not great, but obviously he's been passed by the vets since, so he wouldn't be here. The vets and the stewards always have a very close look at all the horses. But,
6 days to recover.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a long time. It was obviously very mild. I did double check that in the stewards report earlier, and it did say that. But on the best of his form, he's one of these. There's so many with something to prove. They either got to prove they like the dirt or prove they stay. He does both. Capizano does both as well. AJUSTE FISCAL does both, and Quip does both, but still hasn't shown the best of his form here in the UK. Muhammad was here from the US, but Muhammad was very confident that tonight could be his night. He's just said there's no excuses. We've thrown everything at the horse now, and I think he was actually covering mares at one point over in America, so it's going to take an awful long time to get a horse back from that. So it's an intriguing race, because there's, for the fact there's not very many runners, there is a fair amount of depth.
So there's, you can see Dubai Warrior there just getting towelled down. He's gotten quite warm down at the start, had the hood on.
Very, very buzzy in the parade ring.
This would be a lot different to going around the Lingfield parade ring, as he's become accustomed to doing. He's having a good old look around, isn't he, at the big screen. The start for this race is right in front of the big screen, and the stands. Frankie Dettori keeping him away from all the other runners. He's on this very near rail. He looks a very inquisitive horse. He's been here a good while. It's not as if he's just pitched up this last week. They came with maybe the intention of running round 1, decided not to.
I think it was a very strong intention, because John Gosden was here, and I think he just decided, maybe took a look at the likely runners and thought, no, I think what he said to me was he felt that the trip was too sharp for him, which would be the case, because he's been doing his winning over 2,000 metres. I wonder if Frankie will, from the wide draw, keep him wide to avoid kickback.
That's what
Let's assume the horse leads. He may not have to see any kickback.
Well, I think that's definitely what he will do. There'll be.
Then Capizano is also going to try and lead. It's interesting to see how that one plays out. But yeah, I can't see him wanting to get any dirt in the horse's face.
No, there's Capizano going forward.
I see Quip showing a lot of speed in this race as well, from the outside with the blinkers on for the first time.
And Salute Soldier could be another one that they press forward with a bit more, although when he did win the Berge Nahar, he took a trail into the race. So they're heading forward. Mikey, final selection.
I'm going to believe Antonio Sintra when he says AJUSTE FISCAL is the best in his yard, and I feel like jumping back to this trip, he's going to be very tough.
And what about you, Laura?
Tentative Blown by Wind.
Blown by Wind is going to be one of the last to go for. You can see there number 2 out the back. Both the horses in the colours of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Khalifa Al Maktoum also waiting, perhaps a little bit cheekily, perhaps, in the expectation that Blown by Wind may blow his chance if in the stalls sooner than ideal. Keep an eye on him at the start. The start will be crucial. The pace to that first bend, intriguing. Can one of these stamp their Dubai World Cup claims? It seems a stiff enough task, but let's find out with Craig.
Yeah. To come in, so the brothers to load. alongside of each other. Mutasadia, Richie Mullen with the white cap. They're all set to go now. Round 2 of the old Mattoon Challenge, and they're off and racing and blown by wind. Totally blew the start, propped and missed it by 5. Capizana away quickly. Finas going up there with Salute the Soldier. Quip on the outside. And now Mutasadia is ridden around the outside, followed by Dubai Warrior, then AJUSTE FISCAL. A gap of 4 lengths to the Great Collection and blown by wind. They go by the 1,600 metre pole, and Capizano has a fairly cheap lead. Is out by 2. Over Salute the Soldier in second. Finas up on the outside, and Quip going through over on the inside. They're Mutasadia 3 deep. They were followed by Dubai Warrior, having to be heeled along by Datori in the early stages. Then came AJUSTE FISCAL down on the inside, blown by wind, and 2 lengths away at the rear of the field is the Great Collection. They run their way down the back behind a lead of 24.81. Capizano doing it well quickly up on the outside now. Salute the Soldier will pull it on as they go down the back straight. Salute the Soldier led by a neck now over Capizano, Finas and Quip. They were followed then by Mutasadia, who might be done with this, dropping back quickly, followed by blown by wind, AJUSTE FISCAL. Then came the Great Collection, and Dubai Warrior not having a fun time, so the brothers have dropped well out as they come down the side. Capizano travels strongly through underneath a Salute the Soldier once again. 3 lengths away to Finas, followed by Quip. Then came AJUSTE FISCAL. Wagner Leal about to pull it to the outside from the Great Collection and blown by wind. Capizano under a little bit of pressure at the top of the lane. Salute the Soldier might be travelling better. It goes up strongly now for Adrian de Vries, and Salute the Soldier found about a half length over Capizano. AJUSTE FISCAL, the Great Collection, Finas and then Quip. Salute the Soldier at the 200 metres is pretty well full bore, but it's out by a length and a half over Capizano. The Great Collection and AJUSTE FISCAL are down the outside. Salute the Soldier running on empty. It's holding on for the time being. Capizano, the Great Collection finishing well, but Salute the Soldier, terrific ride, and Salute the Soldier holds off the Great Collection close for third. Capizano or AJUSTE FISCAL. They were followed by Finas. Then came Quip, blown by wind, and back at the tail Dubai Warrior and Mutasadia. Salute the Soldier for Adrian de Vries and Fauzi Nas has been able to prevail here and win. And a good battle with Capizano at the top of the lane, but was travelling better than that galloper, and gets his first victory of the season. Salute the Soldier, and runs it out fairly strongly. Was getting tired, but good effort by Salute the Soldier. So Fauzi Nas now has a few options with this guy, and they may well turn up World Cup night. Whether they go to the longer distance or go to the mile, we'll wait and see. But certainly is a talented enough horse. Salute the Soldier rated on 110, and will go up a fraction after that. The Great Collection, another terrific run from it, finishing on strongly and close for third between AJUSTE FISCAL and Capizano. 157.37 is the winner's time. Last year Ben Battle 156.8, so 157.37 was the winner's time.
Things became fairly attritional inside the final furlong there. Salute the Soldier was always in front rank, tracking the pace set by Capizano. Adrian de Vries looked very confident at the top of the straight. Stamina was a question mark going into the race, and maybe it was just beginning to ebb dry as they came to the winning post, but he had enough in reserve to see off the Great Collection, who stayed on well from a bit further back than perhaps ideal. AJUSTE FISCAL, similar comments applying to him. Capizano, not the horse he was, back in fourth, but full credit to Fauzi Nas and Adrian de Vries. This horse isn't easy. They've stretched him out, and I wouldn't say it was a convincing win, but a Group 2 success for the horse.
Yes, I mean, it was a beautiful ride. Let's just say that. Adri kind of sized it up and was banking on Capizano not being the same horse, and just rode a beautiful race. And they came home in a glacial sectional there and finished up about a half a second slower than Ben Battle did on a slower track last year.
There is Salute the Soldier. I mean, whenever we see I would say a relatively blanket finish as we've had there are question marks over the form. I'm not totally convinced we've seen a genuine Dubai World Cup contender in any of the first 2 or 3 there.
Well, you're the handicapper. What does he go up for that? 110 he was coming into it.
He's beaten the Great Collection, who was also racing 110, so he'll be on 112.
Might just be enough to get him in this year.
Yeah, I think any
a nice problem for Fauzi to have, because I think on that effort and on last year's Super Sat effort, he can win a Godolphin mile. So do you go for a safer option, or do you go for the big one in what could well be a weak year? What a fun decision to have to make. Obviously, they have to wait to see what they're invited for, but really pleased he's bounced back. That looked much more like him today. Maybe he's just needed a couple of runs to get fit, and I agree with you. I'm not thinking, this is going to win the World Cup, but he certainly deserves a shot at it, perhaps. And I think one thing we've learned, again, is that if you handle the all-weather, it does not mean you'll handle dirt.
No,
been saying it a long time.
The two progeny of Dan Seeley and Mahbouba have finished a long last. In fact, I'm not even sure they've finished yet, but salute the soldier. Fauzi Nassi's running Sims here in the Saudi Cup. Maybe he's got the wrong one in there.
I know. I was certain back in the fall that Fauzi said that the only horse that he had nominated to the big race was Salute the Soldier to the Saudi Cup. So I think that maybe he did a swapperoo there and put Sims here. And I think you can see why he did want to run this horse in the Saudi Cup, and why the 9 furlongs around 1 turn was probably right square on the nose where he needed to be. Classy horse, just ran a huge race. It's nice to see, the faith that Fauzi has in this horse come through here.
And again, not the first horse, Laura, that he's bought from the UK, who was reasonably exposed. Clive Cox, 14 runs, I think it was, for his previous stable. So it's not as if he's seen a horse a few miles, plenty of potential, and brought him over here. He's obviously seen something that he's felt he can improve on, and he's done another cracking job.
It cost him 380,000, or cost Connections 380,000 at the Newmarket horses in training sale. And what Fauzi does really well is he doesn't take them at the ones with the most obvious sires. He doesn't go for the Exceeding Excels, the Street Cries. This one's by Sepoy. You wouldn't think would adapt to the dirt, but does have a Street Cry on the dam side, which has been crucial. He's just been a super horse ever since he came over here. His record in the UAE now stands at 3 from 6. With a 3rd in there as well, and it's heartwarming when Fauzi wins, isn't it? He's just an all-round good guy that most people have a lot of time for. So well done to him, and we can count Bahrain. We can't really count it as a Bahraini victory, can we? The horse is based here.
he's been here for the last year and a half full time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So,
if it was sincere, it'd come over from Bahrain.
Yeah, absolutely. then we could. But Fauzi's having an absolutely brilliant time with his string in Bahrain and over here. The horses, we've said it plenty of times, have been a lot more forward. He's had wins a lot earlier on in the season than he normally does. So whatever he's changed is working.
Yeah, certainly has. Fauzi doesn't appear to be here this evening, but Andre de Vries, who's obviously a key component of everything that goes on in the mornings, he's in there every day pretty much.